Evan thrust out his little hand for a handshake. Hi there, my name's Evan. Willa Dean let out another chuckle as she gently took Evan's hand. Well, hello there, Evan. We've never been caught by an Evan before, so this is quite the honor. My name, I'm sure you heard, is Willa Dean. The cranky sourpuss stuck in the balloon is my husband, Henry. We've been flying our balloon off and on for about 30 years now. 30 years? Meldrick tried to think if one of the balloons he and his mother saw could have been Willa Dean and Henry's balloon. He was drawing a blank, but that would be icing on the cake if it turned out it was the same balloon. You know, Henry said as he shot Willa Dean a dirty look, it's amazing we've lasted 30 years in the Chino Valley skies. With as heavy as Willa Dean's superiority is, I'm surprised our balloon can leave the ground some mornings. Willa Dean ignored Henry's latest barb and turned her attention to Meldrick. Well, now that I've met Evan, I would like to hear from Evan's dashing father. Meldrick chuckled. My name is Meldrick, ma'am, and the man back there with the horses is Jesse. We both have spreads nearby, and when we saw balloons floating past, we knew we had to get a closer look at y'all. I have to say I never expected that we'd be face to face with someone who spent some time floating in the heavens. Henry pulled out his toothpick and stuck it in his jacket pocket. Well, it's not often when you feel like you're being followed while floating in a balloon. I have to admit that it's quite a treat being able to talk with folks on the ground, meeting new people. While it feels really good getting away from it all, it's also fun to come back down to earth to talk with people. Have you boys ever been up in a balloon? Evan gasped loudly and turned to his father. We've never been up in a balloon, have we, Daddy? He grabbed the collar of Meldrick's shirt. Have we, Daddy? Meldrick smirked at his son's excitement. You know, I don't believe we have. Henry looked at Willa Dean and smiled lovingly. What do you think, my dear? Should we give these folks a chance to go for a ride in the heavens? Willa Dean didn't return a loving smile. Instead, she started poking at Henry to get him out of the basket. You better let me fly these boys around. The way you pilot this thing, you might wind up floating them into a volcano. Henry scoffed. Oh, please. Our insurance agent is more in love with you than I am. The number of times you back up your car into light poles and assorted parked vehicles, they'll be safer with me than with you. Hell, they'll be safer with anybody than with you, you frumpy dishcloth. Jesse moved up next to Meldrick and Evan with the horses in tow and whispered, Are you sure it's safe flying with those two? Well, they've been together all of these years, Meldrick replied, and it doesn't appear that either of them has shoved the other out of the balloon. Meldrick couldn't help but be fascinated by the banter between Henry and Willa Dean. He wondered if he could have had something like that with his ex-husband, if things hadn't been turned on their ear by the torrid affair. He also wondered if he could find someone like that to share the rest of his life with. Meldrick wasn't sure he'd find someone in the near term, but maybe things would turn out better once Evan was older and not in need of his dear old dad so much. The sniping between Henry and Willa Dean paused as the other two balloons finally caught up and floated overhead. The people inside waved politely and uttered greetings, but it didn't look like they had any intention of landing. Meldrick could understand why, as there was a lot of scrub brush in the area, and it was nothing short of stratospheric skill that Henry and Willa Dean had landed in a spot where the brush didn't get its hooks into the balloon basket. We're gonna float towards Bingus Mountain, one of the pilots yelled out. We'll see you there when you're done visiting with those folks. Evan tugged Meldrick's shirt collar again. Can we fly with them to Mingus Mountain? Meldrick gave Evan a hug. Sorry, buddy, that'd be a long way for the horses to travel, and Jesse wouldn't be able to haul them all that way. Besides, I think that Willa Dean and Henry only want to give us a short ride. We shouldn't be greedy and demand more from them. Evan nodded with a frown on his face. You're right, Daddy. I'm sorry. I guess I got excited. Willa Dean smiled. It's okay, little one. It can be very exciting floating in the clouds. Henry cleared his throat. Well, we've decided. We'll let the two of you fly with Willa Dean, although I'm still not comfortable with you flying so exposed and think maybe we should have you boys sign a waiver just in case she crashes the balloon into a pterodactyl or something. Willa Dean put her hands on her hips and shot Henry a nasty look. There's no chance of that since you'll be sitting here on the ground, you old fossil. Now get your sagging keister out of the balloon so that we can fit in Evan and his sweet-looking father. As Henry climbed out of the basket, he muttered to Meldrick, Speaking of keisters, you'll want to protect yours. She's been known to grab them from time to time. He sighed. Still, I wouldn't have her any other way. Willa Dean groaned. Are you going to move it along, or should we call for the jaws of life? Jaws of life? Only thing I can think of where the jaws are stronger than yours. Willa Dean tugged the lever that sent a plume of fire into the air. I'm going to make you pay for that wisecrack when we get home. Henry gave a mischievous smile as he ushered Meldrick and Evan toward the basket. I look forward to it, my dear. Make sure you take good care of these boys. Willa Dean beckoned for Evan to climb into the basket. Come on in, Evan. You're about to go on an amazing journey. If you're really lucky, you might come home with a cloud. Evan stepped onto a box so he could peek out of the basket. Hey, Daddy, if we could bring home a cloud, then we can have a white Christmas without Santa Claus's help, because snow comes from clouds in the wintertime. As Meldrick climbed into the basket, he realized how truly dangerous a public school education could be on someone so young and intelligent. Still, he wouldn't have minded an easy out to make his son's holiday wish come true. Willadine licked a finger and put it up in the air. Looks like the winds are starting to pick up, so let's get this behemoth in the air. Meldrick, if you just keep a grip on your son, then I will take care of everything else in the balloon. Here we go. Willadine let out a long blast from the burner system, which lifted the balloon off the ground and into the air. For a brief moment, it felt to Meldrick like there was nothing beneath his feet, but then the sensation of the wicker basket returned. He could scarcely believe he was floating in a hot air balloon. He wished his mother was there with him to enjoy the experience, as she was the one that first encouraged him to chase after balloons. Still, it would make a hell of a story to tell his parents when he visited them at the retirement village next week. Meldrick watched as Jesse, Henry, and the horses became smaller and smaller, and the balloon went higher into the air. He looked toward the east, toward Mangus Mountain. While he knew the mountain was still far away, he felt like he could almost reach out and touch it. Evan pointed to Meldrick's left. Daddy, look at the birds! We're up flying with the birds! Meldrick smiled and hugged his son tight. Hearing the excited utterances and being in the air with his little buddy made this a bigger Christmas present than anything he could expect to receive.